Hi, and welcome back to Bachelor Buzz, the best place to come for recaps on your favorite reality TV dating show and the latest in Bachelor Nation news. We're your hosts, Arena
and Julia, and today we are joined by my lovely bestie, Natalie. Welcome back, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
Thank you.
She is our astrology extraordinaire. She's been on the podcast a couple times, and it's always so much fun to work with you, Natalie. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me again.
Yes, of course. We're so happy. You were so spot on the last
every time.
We've done it twice before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it for Joey's season and Jen's season, and you are so spot on. And I love just like hearing your responses and what you think is going to happen, and then we tell you what it's actually like, and you're just like, "Whoa, that makes so much sense." It's so cool.
Yeah, and like for just background for those who may not have listened to our previous seasons, we do bring Natalie on when we have the top 3 in these seasons, and like Julia was saying, she's always spot on in terms of the dynamic of the relationships of these individuals and who these people are. And she doesn't watch the entire season like we do, everyone. So this is pretty amazing. And it's really exciting when she comes on and talks about these things because, we know who we're thinking he chooses. We have our top 2, Julia, of course, that everyone knows. But it's really going to be interesting to even hear, like, do you think they'll last after this, even if he chooses this, like, a certain person and stuff like that. So we're excited. So glad you're here.
Yes. And Natalie is going to be doing the typical, like, astrological like sign analysis, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me if I'm saying it wrong.
No, you're saying it perfect.
Yeah, but she's also going to do a tarot reading for each girl and I guess Grant, right?
Yeah, so we can look at it and from a sense of, and we can like change it, but the intent can kind of be like pulling a card for each girl, thinking along the lines of, does she have a future with Grant? So maybe it's not a card for Grant, maybe he's kind of the outcome, do we see him in her future? Yes or no?
Right. Okay, great. Oh, I'm so excited. That is new, everyone. We haven't done that before. So we're really excited to see what the cards tell us as well. All right. Well, whenever you're ready, Natalie, should we start?
Yeah. So as I typically do, I want to get started talking about the Bachelor and what his sign is. And I'll kind of just go through everyone's sign, at a high level and kind of dig into like what that all means. So Grant, right, is his name. He is a Sagittarius. His birthday is in December. So Sagittarius man, first of all, he's intense. And again, like Arena said, I have not watched this. I've just bits and pieces. I don't really know any details. So just kind of speaking generally from my perspective, he's intense, very strong fire sign, brings with it a strong personality, whether we're talking about a man or a woman. The last 2 times I was on here, we talked about Aries being a strong fire sign because I think that's a sign that came up with past contestants. And one of the things I know I consistently said about Aries is that, they're like the life of the party. They're the spark. People tend to enjoy being around them so long as that like intense energy or mood is positive. When it comes to a Sagittarius, they're really similar to Aries in terms of that energy and like extrovertedness. But one key difference really is that the Sagittarius tends to be much more of an all-around, like more optimistic, positive, even more cheerful person than Aries. You may even think about the Sagittarius, like, does this person ever get upset? Do they ever get sad? Like they're just always happy. That's kind of the vibe of the Sagittarius. So I don't know if that sounds like Grant, along those lines, but
yeah, I mean, I think so. He's it definitely, I can see that for sure. Do you want to hear a little bit about Grant, or is there anything else you want to share about him?
I'll go into a couple. I'll go into a couple more examples. And definitely want to keep going, and then you can give me your feedback.
Yes, so I'm just so excited because I already have.
I know. It's exciting. Yeah. So strong energy, strong personality, really extroverted, positive, cheerful person. Loves to explore, loves to have fun. They're a fire sign that really doesn't entertain drama or conflict as much as some of the others, like Aries. They're pretty spontaneous. They like to be carefree. This Sagittarius man probably loves to travel. He definitely loves to try new things. He loves to be active. And now this can be a negative maybe when it comes to dating and commitment. But, the Sag man, kind of like the Gemini man that we talked about before as well, he may get bored easily. He needs stimulation and excitement. As a Sag person, male or female, they're also very intellectual. They like to have deep conversations. They like to analyze, dig deep into things, just really deep, intense people. So, also along those lines, very confident, I said already, extroverted, outgoing people. Sag men, especially, tend to be talkers. They're definitely not shy to start a conversation, meet or socialize with new people. That being said, that confidence can maybe veer into arrogance in some situations and also maybe even be perceived as lower empathy. Like, for example, like a Sag man can maybe be out like with a bunch of friends telling a joke, maybe use some person's expense like as part of that joke just to get a laugh, may hurt that person's feelings, may not even realize it. In relationships, that sort of thing could carry over as well, may hurt the person's feelings and may not realize it. When it's brought to their attention, may not feel as bad as maybe the other person thinks they should, just because they're not able to get to maybe that deep level of a negative emotion. They're not maybe as sensitive of people as water signs, which we're going to be talking about with two of the girls. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about with Grant for The Bachelor has to do with sex and commitment. So all fire signs really tend to be more overtly sexual in nature, but there are like some nuances there. But when it comes to both male and female Sags, they're like very sexual. That's kind of like a stereotype of that trait, maybe even hypersexual in some cases. As part of that, they're likely outwardly very affectionate when they're with someone. So they would definitely need a partner that has a high sex drive like they do. I think a potential negative trait there, kind of along the lines of something I mentioned earlier, getting bored quickly. It's true, especially for a Sag man. And I think that's why Sag men tend to struggle more with commitment. The Sag man really doesn't want to feel tied down. He really values his freedom. And although he's very sexual, great sex and even a seemingly great connection in that way just might not be enough to hold the Sag man if he feels even a little bit trapped. So if it comes down to making a choice about commitment in a relationship, if he isn't ready and that commitment requires monogamy, it will be hard to get him to commit and you may even scare him off. So I will stop there and I'll see if you guys have any feedback to see if any of that sounds like Grant.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would say yes.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one example is like this man used to be a travel professional basketball player, Natalie.
He lived in another
Okay.
Yeah.
He lived in where?
The Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. Mm-hmm. And he was a professional basketball player there, And I just feel like that kind of gives you an idea of like what this man is. Like he is outgoing. He loves travel. He's career focused.
He's analytical because he's a day trader. So he works in finance.
Yes, we didn't mention that part.
Focused.
So true. Yeah. And actually he opened up during this season to one of the girls about, who was that with? It was with Dina. And it was about how like he ended relationships because he chose career over the relationship.
That was an issue for him.
So that rings true for him as well.
Yeah, I've heard the Sag man described as like the ultimate bachelor. They're like literally, they're like, aside from this, like they're the ultimate one to be pinned down because they are typically not only have all these positive characteristics of being outgoing, extroverted, adventurous, but they also tend to also be successful, attractive people that are the people want to date, that they want to be with, but they're hard to nail down.
Oh my gosh. I keep thinking of my husband now because he's a Sagittarius. And I'm like,
is he? Okay.
Yeah, that's so funny. Right. And I'm an Aries. So it's kind of funny that you talked about that. But yeah, I feel like that is kind of, so we don't know what's going to happen at the end, but Natalie, maybe actually I'm going to hold off to say that until we hear more. Let's talk about that at the end. Raina probably knows what I was going to say, but I'm not going to say it. Maybe not. You'll get it when I talk about it. But again, I don't want to like spoil it for Natalie. I want you to like, go through it with us and then we'll talk about it at the end. But yeah, I think that what you said is just like so true. And also another thing that a characteristic of his is that he's like kind of a budding rapper. Like he like puts himself
can
out
totally
there.
See that as Sagittarius. The Sagittarians in my life, two of them are musicians, very, very extroverted musicians.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
so he has that analytical side, but then he has that artistic side
Yeah.
where he likes to put his art out there and be in the forefront too. Not even
Yeah.
just
There's
like
a really business savvy aspect to that too, as
Yes.
well, right? Like he's artistic, but he's also really business savvy because he's making money off of all of these things too.
He
Mhm.
put out a song called
Yeah.
Party Girls the day before Bachelor premiere.
Premiered. Yeah.
Talk about using your leverage,
Business
right?
savvy.
Business
That is
savvy,
that is
hitting
big
everybody
sag
from
male
every
energy.
yes.
He knew what he was
And
doing.
He did.
and like he has sprinkled his talent throughout, and he is talented. He actually like has a nice voice. He can,
He does.
spit bars. He can beatbox. I love beatboxing.
Yes.
But yeah, like he has kind of sprinkled that through the season where like at the end of this, even if he doesn't find love, he definitely is gaining a following in, his music and just like himself as a brand, I think.
Mhm.
So not to say that I think that's his whole goal, but it's a
But it's
Yeah.
a perk these days,
Yeah.
right? When you go on this show, we've talked about, you have to know when you're going on a show like this at this day and age, hey, that's just the world we live in. Use your brand, put it out there. Why not?
Right. We're not mad at it.
Yeah. Really. I mean, everyone who goes on Bachelor is like expecting to be an influencer at some point.
Literally.
To some extent now.
He doesn't even he's just they're living in LA now. They weren't going to. No, he and Kelsey are living in LA for a reason.
But yeah, I think there are a lot of other examples, and I'm trying to think like what else, like the depth thing. I think we're starting to see that with Grant.
Yeah.
Like we see it a little bit here and there, but I don't know if he's like super, super deep.
I think that, like, we know he got deep when he talked about himself and revealing the information about his family. And then I think he got deep when he talked to Juliana, like when they were in their one-on-one at the castle, and she talked about her family and even Latia. So I think for those,
it's like starting, like it's just like late in the season to start seeing that,
deep and and I wonder if it's maybe also just a combination of either didn't want to go into it as much, or who knows, I don't know.
He's probably protecting himself too. Do you think that's a trait of a sag man? Like
I was gonna say, well, there is a depth, but you kind of said it, Arena. Like he opened up about himself, right? He maybe what he did open up about was more of himself.
Yeah.
It's not surprising for me to hear that he maybe had a harder time connecting when it came to someone else showing really deep emotion, or it being someone else's negative situation or something that he had to kind of be there for. Or when I was talking, I kind of brought up if maybe two people weren't in the same place, in a relationship, he would have a hard time kind of being able to be empathetic and be able to be there. I think that is certainly a trait. Sagittarius men tend to be a bit more, we throw around the word narcissist. I'm not saying in a, full-blown narcissist way, but tend toward more narcissistic tendencies, even innocent ones, like maybe not realize he's talking about himself a lot. Even his career, this man, you've mentioned multiple aspects of his career that all focus solely on himself and his talent. So it would make sense that his focus is himself. I would say that's very typical of Sagittarian men.
Yes. And actually there have been a couple times in the season with like Carolina and who else was it that this happened to? I think it was Bailey, where like these women have opened up, and it wasn't okay. So for Bailey, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, Rita. I'm sorry, viewers, if I'm wrong on this, but she like gave him a note. Was that Bailey? Who gave him the note? Oh no, it was Emma. Or
it was Emma. And she left, I think, the second episode.
Well, she gave him a note, and then later that night, he cut her.
Wow.
And like he was like reading.
I almost laughed when you first said he gave her, or she gave him a note. I almost laughed, and then I was like, no, wait, let me not make a reaction before you tell me like what he did,
that's
because
not gonna work.
I'm surprised the Sagittarius man didn't just like laugh or throw it out in that moment. Like, something like that is definitely it may even annoy a Sagittarius man. I don't think that is going to have the impact that you'd think that it would. They're just
Right.
not deep like that. It's sexually
Yeah.
deep, yes, like very, in terms of maybe feeling those feelings, but that doesn't necessarily equate to love for them. And I think that can be confusing for some of the other
Interesting.
signs trying to interact with them. Their emotions can come
Yeah.
off like they're really deep, but maybe they're not. They're just
Yeah.
really excitable people.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
like find it easy to maybe connect with people, but it's not
Not necessarily deep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. That was so
Right.
so good.
We get into the
Again.
ladies.
Good.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do
Do you want to start? I think you always start with like the one you think is the best match, or
Or the
you can do
least
whichever
Okay,
order.
so I
You can
have
do
a little
whichever
bit of different way I'm doing it this time, just because we have such a unique situation this time
Mhm.
with us
Mhm.
having two
Mm.
Pisces, one being in each in a different month. So
Oh.
we are going to kind of inadvertently start, in a sense. It's one of the two people is my suggestion, is my
Okay.
choice, is one of those people, but we're kind of going to start with two. So that's one of the things I just wanted to call out before I started talking about them that I thought was really interesting. Two of the women falling under the sign Pisces, that being a water sign, so that's Zoe and Lydia. But what's really interesting about them is that one is a February Pisces and one is a March, like I said. We'll get into more detail as I talk about it a little bit more, about these two women in particular. But just in general, people with the same sign who were born in different months that both fall under that sign are, of course, similar, but also really different in noticeable ways. So there's going to be a lot of similarities, but we'll get to like the important nuances at the end that then we'll like parse out why I think one is better than the other. Also, I thought it was really interesting, and I pointed this out to Julia, that all the girls' birthdays are consecutive months. So it's February,
weird.
March, April. I'm like, that may never happen again.
Yeah,
That's really
that is
cool.
weird. Also, really quick, her name is Latia.
I'm sorry,
which,
Latia.
No worries. I just wanted to
Should've
correct you
asked
now.
you.
It's
But this
okay.
is the
That
perfect
name
example
confused us.
Natalie doesn't follow the season, guys.
Yeah,
Seriously,
no,
like this is
edit me out.
legit. This is okay.
Latia,
I know. If you had
okay.
said Latia earlier, people would be like, "What? How does she know?"
I know.
Because honestly, like, that's a tricky name.
Don't
Everyone
come at me,
says
I'm
the name
sorry.
If
differently.
you listen to our first episode, where I was like, "Is it Latia? Litia,
Well, a lot of people have said it differently. Yeah. So it's like you only know if you've been watching it like every single week, like we have.
Right.
I know. Anyways, continue.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so let's talk about the Pisces women in general and then get into some more details and some positives and negatives of what I think could work and would not work with Grant. So Pisces woman is truly just like her sign of water. Arena, am I wrong in thinking, are you a Pisces?
No, I'm a
Arena?
Gemini.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. For some reason, I thought in my memory where I was like, let me just like caveat that before it may say
the
like
dual.
this all
I'm the dual.
pertains to you. I know. Okay, good. Great. Anyway, so I feel like the Pisces woman and all that I know truly are just like their sign of water, typically very calm, very chill, gentle, compassionate, caring, great listeners, definitely more on the quiet side, but not necessarily not talkative, just like you need to get to know them.
Yeah.
A Pisces man or woman is not loud, not the person who needs or even wants to be at the center of attention. You really won't catch them kind of holding court at a table or really being loud and boisterous unless they've had a couple drinks. Because of the intense emotions that the Pisces woman especially is typically holding in, even though she tends to be more quiet, she tends to need time to herself to kind of recharge, to kind of deal with all of that. And real quick, I will call this out as a potential similarity between the Pisces woman and a Sag man. Despite all the differences, they both actually really value alone time and independence. The Pisces woman can be seen as clingy sometimes because of those intense emotions. That's like kind of a negative stereotype if you ever like look up memes or things about Pisces, is that they're like clingy, but that really isn't true actually a lot of the time. Pisces people really do need breaks, especially Pisces women, because they really can tend to get overstimulated. The Pisces woman is also artistic. She may be in an artistic profession or at the very least engages, in some sort of creative hobby or an outlet where that creativity can go. Pisces women tend to be less of realists and more of dreamers, metaphorically and also in a physical sense. So if you ever see funny astrology memes about Pisces, they're described as being literally sleepy a lot of the time. They kind of poke fun at them for that. And if you know any Pisces in your life, that actually is true. It's really funny. It's uncanny.
Now. Yeah.
It's actually uncanny.
I
They
don't
just
have
like
my
to,
friends categorized that way, but I need to think about that more.
it's just like a funny thing. If you know,
Yeah, but
I'm
it's
someone that
funny.
sees astrology memes and stuff
Yeah.
online all the time that are funny. That's something you'll
Yeah, you
always see
send me
about
them all the
Pisces.
time. I love them.
You'll always see that
I'm like,
about
you do the
Pisces,
work
that
that I
they're
don't.
sleepy. Yeah, they'll be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Pisces slept through the month."
Huh.
Um, Kind of along those lines, deep emotions, being intellectual. Pisces is actually considered one of the signs as having like the highest intuitions out of all the signs. And I mean, it really does make sense that that would be a water sign, at least, to like have that, the highest intuitions, being with like highest in touch with feelings, higher empathy. One way that that heightened intuition would play out like in a relationship is always knowing what's really going on like underneath the surface, or at least knowing that something is up even if their partner isn't telling them or isn't telling them the truth. Pisces women are very good at detecting liars in partners and in friends. One of my very good friends is a Pisces, and it's actually uncanny how immediately she'll know something is wrong with me even if I'm doing everything possible to hide it. Like no one else can tell but she can.
Wow.
You cannot hide anything from Pisces, and that's even more true in their romantic relationships.
Ooh.
So I would say
Very
definitely a
good.
waste of a time to
Wow.
try to lie to your Pisces partner. You will get found out. Again, if you look at funny astrology memes, you will always see that about Pisces women too. You cannot lie to them. Their eyes like see right into your soul.
That's so interesting.
That is
Yeah.
I
interesting.
definitely feel like that resonates with both of the women,
Yes.
like a lot of
Okay, good.
things.
Good. So
But we'll
keep
talk.
thinking about that. Yeah,
Yes.
a couple more things. Keep thinking about that. Glad it's resonating. So along those lines, probably because of that heightened intuition, Pisces women are very sensitive. They don't have thick skin. Feelings can be hurt easily. And here is where we see one potential barrier with the Sag man dating the Pisces woman, right? The
Hmm.
Sag man can come off as low empathy. We've already talked about this. Their
Yeah.
feelings maybe may not go very deep, especially when it comes to trying to connect with someone else's very deep feelings. Also, if there's an argument or a negative exchange where someone's feelings are hurt, the Sag man is just not going to be overly emotional, which is fine, but he'd have to be able to meet a Pisces woman halfway, like for sure, in order for her to feel secure in that relationship. So, going back to what I said about romance too, previously, a Pisces woman who is very sensitive, a Pisces woman needs romance. She wants to be courted. She craves physical affection as well. She wants to be touched, and she wants to know exactly how you feel about them. So there's probably a lot of communication that needs to happen that the Sag man, may struggle a little bit with. And then another thing I will say about the Pisces woman when she falls in love is this sign is also known for, I'll put it nicely, as saying wearing rose-colored glasses. In a more negative a more negative view of it is to say they're a little bit delusional. The Pisces woman tends to
Yeah.
be really idealistic. She's a dreamer. That's all great, except if she finds herself kind of in a bad situation or a bad relationship. The Pisces woman may take a long time to leave that situation because she just doesn't want to give up the dream of what she had, or like admit that that's
Mm.
not real. The romantic in her, because the Pisces, they're diehard romantics, they're poetics. She really wants that romance to still be true. Also, Pisces are notorious people pleasers, so that's part of it too. That can get them into relationships with people who maybe aren't the best for them, or who take advantage of their generosity, their kindness. Because, like I said,
Yeah.
Pisces are very generous, very kind people, so they can get taken advantage of by friends and also lovers, in romantic relationships as well. So I think that's something that type of individual needs to watch out for. When we're looking at a February versus a March Pisces, so Pisces women born in February, they would follow along the lines more like the typical Pisces traits. So like what we've
Mm.
already been talking about, like being creative, being idealistic, being calm and easygoing and romantic. This type of Pisces is like an old soul. We call them like,
Yeah.
interior and old soul. By comparison to that, Pisces women born in March have traits that make them seem more in ways like a fire sign or an earth sign, which is very interesting.
Mm.
So those type of women, or those type of Pisces, would be more grounded, something I wouldn't typically describe a Pisces person as, especially as a water sign, definitely not grounded, more of a realist, another contrast what we've been talking about Pisces generally. And then another big difference would be being more driven to succeed. March Pisces being more like a fire sign or an earth sign would be very ambitious, maybe not come off quite as chill as the more typical Pisces, maybe be seen as more of a go-getter, whereas the typical Pisces wouldn't. So just for clarification, that
That's
would
crazy.
be Latia, right? That would be
Yeah.
Latia of the two. And then
Mhm.
Zoe is our more typical Pisces. So I'll stop there before I go into more of my predictions. Does all that kind of make sense?
It makes so much
Mhm.
sense.
I think it
One
does.
thing that stood out to me is that, like, you know, you mentioned how usually a Pisces woman is maybe like more artistic and everything. And I was thinking in my head, like, well, one of them doesn't quite fit that. And then boom, the March Pisces is more driven. The March Latia is a venture capitalist.
I was just going to say analytical. I was going to say the March Pisces, driven and ambitious in much the sense of an earth sign. So that type of field. So yeah, exactly. That type of field.
Like, that just resonates.
And like Zoe, she's a model too. She's a tech engineer, but she's also a model in New York City. So that's an artistic, creative pursuit as well. So
she
that
really
definitely
loves
resonated. Yeah, she really loves it. And even if you look at her Instagram, it's all modeling. So
yeah, she took Grant to model with her.
Yeah, which actually they looked, for just modeling, they looked really good together. I feel like for just the modeling part, not necessarily in life, but
yes.
Really
and then I think they both are pretty soft spoken. I mean, they both seem more relaxed. They don't, I mean, Zoe, I don't think that she was emotional. I don't think she really was like, she was involved in drama, Natalie, in the beginning. But it was honestly, it was kind of more because she was insecure and like emotional rather than her like being aggressive towards the girls. Like the girls were upset because she kept pulling him, which everyone, you know, there's always someone. But like she found time to be alone with him. She really craved that like deep connection.
Yeah.
And he was able to kind of give it to her enough, like just enough. But yeah, I think that's what I'm worried about with her and Grant. I think she may need more of that. Yeah. And you were saying, you know, he needs to meet her halfway, but I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely not there yet. They've had an odd kind of journey, I think.
It's and it hasn't been clear, and I don't know if it's a combination. It's them, and it's a combination of just the show not showing it, but a lot of people are confused. Like, she seems like a great woman, but a lot of people are kind of confused as to why she's in the top 3.
Yeah, because he didn't give her a one-on-one, Natalie. She never went on a one-to-one date with him. Only group dates or cocktail parties. And then all of a sudden he's like, I want to meet your family. You know, so
I think he's really attracted to her. Like you said, the sexual drive. He's waiting for fantasy suites, okay?
When I get into this, I'm like, you know what? I'm just smiling because I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised to hear this. Yeah, she's probably not our girl, but he's definitely, I'm sure he's very, very enthralled with her. As men tend to be with Pisces, women are very captivating. That's one of the things I'm going to talk about. Ethereal, if you will. They're often depicted in our funny little memes and stuff as pixies and fairies and mythical creatures, like like I'm telling you, old souls. Like their energy is infectious. They're known to have like a naturally infectious energy. Even just making friends, like Pisces women making friends with other women can do it like no effort, instantaneously. Like you'll think that's like your best friend that you've known for like 5 years and you just met her, and she'll do that with everyone that she meets. And it's genuine, and it's like genuine too. It's not like, no offense to the Sags, but it's not more surface level like a Gemini or a Sagittarius doing that just to kind of put on. Like that's a Pisces just being who they are. And that's where, like, going back to that time to recharge, they get really overstimulated because they're really being genuine. That's really who they are. So like her being really emotional and everything, I'm not surprised to hear that. She's probably really overstimulated all the time because a lot of Pisces women are.
Yeah.
And then just the captivating note, that is so fitting for Latia because he seems so just like in awe of her. And I think that has been the theme for them throughout the season. Like he just sees her, he puts her on a pedestal.
She's on a pedestal.
He sees her as so beautiful. 100%. He sees her as so amazing. And it's like he is just like, you know, just, oh my gosh. Like, so.
But I think you mentioned something about, you know, the idealistic thing. I think for Latia makes sense too, because I mean, I think we can tell you this now, right? She's Mormon.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's not Mormon. She lives in like Utah. And it's like, how
do you think she's idealizing that it's really going to work out?
Yeah. Yes. And she's going to call him out on whatever bullshit he does in fantasy suites. We know that there's previews. she is going to call him out. Her intuition, I think there's going to be a big conversation
Yeah, and
about what
Pisces
she
women
thinks
really
may
do not like to
happen.
share at all. Pisces women
Yeah.
can be very, very jealous, either
Yeah.
February or March. So, not surprised to hear that. And that March Pisces is definitely going to be a lot more vocal about it. The February Pisces will probably cry a lot and be really hurt, but probably maybe not even say anything. Maybe send him a really long, very strongly worded
Ah.
text messages, a lot of details, but she's not going to have like a face to face confrontation.
And even then, Latia prefaced this also in her hometowns when she was talking to her mom, saying that basically, like, what am I going to do? Like, he's going to be with other women. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel it. So she was already talking about this situation coming up. So that is very fitting
It's
for
like,
these
how can they make it work? Like she does kind of have rose-colored glasses.
She
Like,
does,
oh,
yeah.
he's gonna move from New York to Utah. He's gonna become
We're
Mormon.
gonna
We're
raise
gonna
a
like drink
family.
soda
She's
and go
putting
to
those
church every
rose-colored
day.
glasses on
So
him though
Yes.
too, because he's drinking the Kool-Aid too,
Oh, he
because she's in the
is.
final three.
Right.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's the big question. Like, can he do that? I mean, the way he was talking with her family, it was like, I'm down.
Yeah, like we all
Okay,
believe in
Grant.
God, because her
Yeah, my
stepdad was like,
faith.
as
We
long
all,
as you,
yeah.
believe. Basically, your stepdad was like, you don't have to be LDS with us, as long as you believe in God. Basically, as long as you're, raised the family in faith or something. And so Grant was like, oh, great, yeah, let's go. This is it.
Yeah.
But in reality,
In reality, it's a lot more serious than that. And also,
yes.
I worry a little bit that I'm hearing some of the kind of a typical sag man just kind of future faking a little bit and being like, yeah, I got it. Like, totally fine. Like, just because he just doesn't even want to worry about it. He's just putting on, like, again, he's having fun. He
wants what he
likes these people,
wants.
but
Yeah.
he's just trying to get through this interaction and like do what he needs to do. He's probably not even thinking that deeply about what he's saying. And then she's like, oh, he said, she's holding on to that.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, wait, I said that? Like,
I know.
like,
Oh, and he's done that before. Wait,
He's done that. There was a
He's been
whole
like, I didn't say
thing.
that.
that's how you know someone is future faking or something is not legitimate because they're just saying what you want them to hear. So I hope that's not what he's doing there. And he's wearing those rose-colored glasses. They're both just holding on till the very end.
Yeah.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves though.
I know.
No,
we still have to hear about the third girl.
We're right on track. Going into my predictions a little bit now for the Pisces women, we already went into the first part of what I was going to say anyway, which was about that kind of instantaneous, like inexplicable spiritual connection. Why is Zoe? You met Zoe, right? Like, why is Zoe still there? Obviously, that is what is going on with her. Kind of just that typical deep connection that you're going to have with a Pisces if you are already attracted to them. It's just going to move along so fast with that sign. It's just like the nature of it, or they're going to try to make that happen. So could be a positive, could be a negative. I feel like we already talked about that a little bit. So I do see a strong spiritual connection between him and the Pisces women. I also see sort of the calmer, gentler, more easygoing demeanor of the Pisces sign overall being a nice contrast to kind of his much higher energy sign. Thinking about a Pisces woman, that calming energy, that might be really needed in his life, might be something that's lacking. But that may also be a possible turning off point as well. If the Pisces woman, if her energy is too low, maybe a little too chill, a little too like, I want to stay in and cuddle and watch movies for him. He maybe wants to get out and spend more active time together. She may not really match his speed. I'm thinking of that in my head, more of Zoe than I am of Latia, knowing just what I know about them now and what I was already kind of thinking as I was going through this. Another point of connection, both being very sensual people. We already kind of talked about this, but also going back to maybe that inexplicable spiritual connection, I think there could be a deep sexual energy that's shared. I know maybe that could just be an attraction. I know they haven't actually had sex yet. But I would worry, again, about the lower empathy of the Sag male when feelings get involved for the Pisces woman if they're not entirely on the same page. This could cause her to feel insecure and voice that insecurity, which you said Latia is going to, which could push him to shy away from commitment if he feels trapped, because the Sag man just cannot feel trapped. That's never going to work for him. Last connector, also potential detractor, that shared free spiritedness. Both are adventurous, free spirits. Even if Pisces does like to stay home and relax a lot too, the Pisces woman is much more likely than an earth sign woman, so like Juliana is, who we're going to talk about next, to like just get up and go with him, to travel, want to be spontaneous. Oh, whatever he's doing his music, come be on tour for me for 3 weeks, leave your job for 3 weeks. The Pisces woman is so much more likely to be like, yeah, I'm definitely down to do that. So they would for sure have fun together. I think a potential detractor there is a tendency toward maybe a shared lack of focus or drive, tending toward like maybe being a bit irresponsible together, maybe not
like
being in the, maybe
something.
not being as focused as they should be. They may not be the pair that's like going to be planning their financial future or their 401ks. Maybe they'd rather be like traveling and having fun. Now again, maybe I'm seeing that more for him and Zoe than him and Latia may have a more solid foundation there. So all of that being said, and we haven't gotten into the last woman yet, but I do feel that Latia is my pick. And she was my pick before you guys even said that, because and when I talk about Taurus, this will become even more clear. She's really the perfect sprinkle of both. She's a little Pisces and all the good elements, if we're just thinking about the good traits. And she's a little Taurus and all the good elements as well. So that's why she's my pick, because I think she could be the best of both worlds and kind of what he needs in both areas, and hopefully not too much of either. I think if we're just focusing on Pisces right now, I think Zoe is probably going to be a little bit too emotional, maybe a little too chill, a little too calm, a little too disconnected for him, and maybe need a little bit too much depth to that feeling and that connection than he's really able to give. So I'll stop there and let you guys give me feedback.
I think that's really, honestly, especially what you said about Zoe, I feel like that is the downfall of them, sadly. Again, like Zoe's awesome. Like she's a great girl. He's great, but like their connection, it just seems like she needs more than what he's given to this point, you know? Don't you think so right now?
He's not capable in that relationship of giving more, because I think that they're only going to go as far as they're going to go. And, you know, they're going to have the fantasy suite. And like we talked about, I think it's just really attracted to her. And he really just wants to fulfill that, you know, whatever.
That's the sag man for you. And that's where she needs to be careful, you know. I really would caution her, because that's,
I'm more worried for her. Like,
I know.
he's, you know, like that'll mess her up emotionally and mentally.
It will, because she already has some stuff going on, and she's such a beautiful woman, like on the outside, and on the inside I think she's a good person, but she definitely is feeling more on an emotional side than it seems like he is.
Like she was about to leave before the hometown rose. Or whatever, however you want to call it, like the rose before hometown. She was like, I should just go. Like, I don't feel like he wants me here. And then he picked her. And that's why people were so confused. They're like,
she's very insecure.
Why is she here?
She talked to him about it. And he was like, he leaned into her and was like, he reassured her, not to the extent that I feel like he could have if he wanted her to continue.
Just enough.
But yes, just enough. He reassured her just enough, and that was enough for her to be like, okay, I'm staying. I was like,
now, now Latia, I feel like what you said, again, you know, there have been times where we think like she's the one too, but her religion and the lifestyle disconnect, I think realistically may be a factor of why maybe he doesn't choose her.
Like, I think if it wasn't,
I know. So now that you guys have told me that, I'm almost like,
hurt.
I will say I'm very excited to do the tarot reading now that I know that, because that we could get like the doom and gloom card for her and be like, oh, that's it, you know, like that's why that I feel like that's really going to be telling, because it seems like, okay, it makes total sense to us why they would be attracted to each other, but maybe logistically it just can't be,
like in another life or time, maybe. But like now in their life, like, because also she's like, what, 31 or something? So like she's not messing around. She's not even moving to New York. She's not doing any of that. Like, she wants to have kids.
Especially
she's like the older one.
Religion.
Like,
in that
community.
Culture. You know, women start getting married in college when they're teenagers. Not old, by the way, but not everyone. But like she's further along. And generally you have big families, so you really got to get going on it. And I feel like if it wasn't for that, like we're saying, if it wasn't for that disconnect in a cultural standpoint in terms of her faith, and I mean, they both believe in God, but her religion is such a very, just such a very, it's a type of religion that takes over your life, and it's part of your culture too. And if it wasn't for that, she would be my pick too, because I had a feeling
Yes.
about her from the beginning.
You did.
But once I found out she was LDS, it was kind of like, oh, like, and not because she's LDS, but because he's not,
know.
and that's a commitment.
Yeah.
Yes. And the sad thing is that, like, even if he picks her,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see it really working, you know, because again, the lifestyle thing. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. But okay, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, how about this though too? Like, so the Taurus, Juliana, the last person that we're going to talk about, I think if there was a backup pick, she's, especially on paper, she's the next best choice.
Yeah.
It's definitely Latia in terms of who I felt would be the best connection with him, then her, and then Zoe. It was really tough for me to choose between Latia and Juliana, honestly, because a Taurus would be a really great match for him too.
Oh my God.
It's just him having two Pisces women in the end. Clearly, this man is drawn to a Pisces woman.
Yeah.
So being that he had one that was like in the middle, it's such a bummer that she's LDS, because like that's probably clearly something. Well,
it's so
I think I know what it is about the Pisces women. I have multiple things that he's drawn to, but it's very interesting that both of these women, even though on paper, clearly they're not maybe the best fit for him for X, Y, or Z reasons, but he's still attracted to them. Pisces women are really givers, and he's a big personality, and his career and everything he does is focused on himself. He's probably getting a lot of validation from them. He's probably getting a lot. He's getting a lot emotionally from them, and that's actually maybe kind of a negative. You know, he's kind of sucking their energy potentially just to like not pick them, but that's potentially what is attracting him to them. I know it sounds really negative, but like they're able to feed his need for that, like in a way. Whereas a Taurus woman, I'll talk about a little bit, she's really strong-willed and strong-headed. She's like good on her own. The Pisces woman is much more stand by your man. I'm right here by your side.
Yeah.
So
just the fact that you had trouble with the Juliana Latia thing, like, but that's what we're predicting.
Yes.
Like, he literally, like, there are scenes where it's like he can't decide. Right. It's like Jesse, the host, is like, you have to go. Which woman do we send? You know, or which woman do we send first? And he's just like, I don't know. And it's like, Grant, no, you have to know by now.
And he fell in love with two women.
Yeah, he fell in love too.
That makes sense that the two of them at the end, because even we're constantly going back and forth, like, because we know, like, we have felt that way for weeks. I feel like we've been like, it's those two at the end. Like, that's what we weren't sure about 3 and 4, but like, we were like,
but like, we actually, so we also do this thing, and our viewers have heard of it, but it's called bracketology. So you like create a bracket. So each week we had our like, our picks for that rose ceremony, and like we've actually done really well. And it's just funny that like out of all these women, like those were our final 2 from day 1.
That's awesome.
Like
the first episode, we
didn't have Zoe in our final 3 though.
Yeah, we did not. We didn't. That was confusing. And Dina in the top 4. That was
she was the dark horse.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about Juliana you want to share?
Oh yeah, I can get into Taurus just like a little bit more, because let's give that sign its due. Let me get into it a little bit.
I like learning about the signs too.
Yeah, and Taurus is a really good pick for him as well. Taurus is a great fit for a Sag as well. Another very strong sign. He's a strong fire sign. Taurus is a really strong earth sign. The symbol is the bull, so everyone kind of knows that. Taurus women, very strong in their beliefs, strong values, definitely not afraid to speak their mind. Whereas Pisces, might be a bit more passive, less inclined to kind of rile anything up. Not so with Taurus. Taurus is also more grounded in reality, whereas, we talk about Pisces being a lot more of a dreamer. Our March Pisces, Latia, would be more like the Taurus in that way, more of a realist, more clear-minded on maybe what her path is, what her goals are, which you guys have already said. That would be true of Juliana for sure as well as a Taurus. I'm sure she also knows exactly what she wants. She's doing what she needs to do to try to achieve her goals without knowing much about her. That's what I would guess. emotionally strong. Taurus women are also emotionally strong, and they're also mentally strong. They take on a lot of tasks, could maybe have a difficult career while also balancing hobbies, kids, and a husband. My mom was a Taurus mom, so I had that personally. Have seen that Taurus women will literally do it all and make it look effortless. They just have a really strong work ethic and also want to have a really robust family and friend, like, personal life too,
Yeah.
while also being really independent. Like, don't mind being on their own, don't mind taking the lead in groups either. But as kind of also part of that, having a hard time accepting help when they need it, maybe trying to push through a tough situation on their own as much as they can before asking people to help them. They don't really like putting people out.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So,
huge. Yeah.
yeah, a pause, I guess, if there's
Yeah.
anything
So
else.
that right there is also like a huge trait of Juliana.
Yeah.
She actually has like PTSD, I guess, from like this trauma of knowing someone in her family who struggled with addiction
Mhm.
when she was a
Mm,
child. And
Mm.
mm,
she repressed those emotions
Mm.
like so deeply that she
mm,
now as an adult is like working through them. And that's what she talks to
mm.
Grant about. But it's like
Okay.
she has like put on a brave face for so long in her life and
Oh,
like
wow.
repressed those things. And she's like on the outside super bubbly and
Mhm.
like outgoing and like kind of what you said, like a leader. She
Mhm.
does have so she's a client service associate at like a wealth management firm, but she also is the co-founder of a clothing brand.
Cool.
So like again, kind of just doing it all. She has a
Yep.
huge family,
Mhm.
like just a huge social life. And that's kind of why Grant likes her, because he's like, oh, you're like a city girl, you're fun, like
Mhm.
days with Juliana, or who knows what's gonna happen, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
And
That's
I
what
think
I
kind of like him too, he has like his day job with day trading. She has her
mhm,
day job, but then she has the clothing brand. He has his like music. So it's kind of like I feel like they connect in that way too
mhm.
because they have these side things that they're passionate about in addition to the more practical career so that they can make money, make a life for themselves, and be practical in that sense, financially speaking. But yeah, just the fact that you said she's like a good like second or backup or something
Mhm.
that just kind of feels very very true here
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Like I feel like you outlined exactly the like true hierarchy. Like
Yeah,
Yes.
it
like, if
really
it were
is.
it's not gonna be Latia,
Yeah.
then I would say Juliana. I mean, there's
Right.
there's some, potential negatives about the Taurus sign as well, in terms of their compatibility, but there's also a lot of positives. Rena, you just mentioned some too, and then also along those lines, that groundedness that they both have, being driven and being focused, they both be really good influences on each other, wanting each other to kind
Yes.
of build each other up and
I
succeed
can see that.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
that's
a
where,
power
like,
couple.
Yeah.
exactly. So whereas, like, you could look at it like, okay, the more calm, chill, gentle energy of the Pisces woman could be a nice contrast to his like high energy. You could also see it as maybe holding him back. Like, he might want someone that's a little bit more on his level, which the Taurus woman definitely would be, while also having her own lane. Like you guys said, she's also
Yeah.
doing her own things. They
Mhm.
don't need to be in the same lane together while still be succeeding. Also, the Taurus woman still wants to have fun. She's maybe not spontaneous to the same extent that he is, but Taurus people certainly still love to be active and travel. They love to have a good time. So she would certainly still do those things with him, but she just probably want to make sure that they're being responsible about it
Yeah.
too. That
Have
they're
an
not blowing off work,
itinerary.
right? That they're not blowing
Yeah.
all their money. They're not taking
Right.
money out of their 401k, like, to
Right,
do
right,
it.
right.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think she'd be a good, solid choice for him. One potential negative I did want to call out is Taurus women notoriously can be very stubborn, can have a temper. She may not like
Oh.
not getting her way, very headstrong, going back to the symbol of the bull. So
Mhm.
that's, just one of the more negative stereotypes or aspects of Taurus. We've all maybe heard about that, but it is true to a certain extent. Taurus people can be set in their ways just because they stand so firmly in their beliefs and their opinions. It's really not a bad thing, but to someone like a Sagittarius, who's a really high energy person and also very fiery themselves, that kind of shared fieriness, it would certainly be a turn on in the bedroom. I have no doubt that they would have a strong sexual chemistry, honestly, potentially stronger than with the Pisces women, besides maybe Latia, because she's like our in betweener. But maybe a downside there is there being that combativeness between them, a tendency maybe toward arguing, because they're both very
Yeah.
strong willed and neither will want to give in on their side.
Mm.
Mm.
Very
I don't know if you've seen any of the I don't know how you've seen about the like chemistry between the two of them, but I would hypothesize a strong sexual chemistry between them.
Yeah, I think that's what drew me to Juliana in the first episode. I remember being like, they had chemistry. Like, I was surprised he didn't give her the first impression rose. You know, I thought it would be her or Alicia. I remember I said that. But yeah, I could tell that they had chemistry, and like every time they're on screen, it's like very magnetic. Like they just seem like the only people in the room. But he's also like that with Latia. Like it's really similar vibes.
It's different. It's similar.
It's different.
For sure,
It's
but
different. It's like two different sides.
Yeah, it's like two different sides of it with Juliana.
It really is like an energy thing.
Very energized, yeah, and of course the chemistry's there. It's also very like cutesy and very like light. Not that they can't go deep, but just like it feels light and just flirty, and also just like if you saw them somewhere, you'd be like, oh, they're a cute little couple, you know?
Yeah.
And then I feel like with Latia, it's always so like deep. Like it's always so like intense, you know, and
Pisces
just
energy.
It's like
they just can't help it. They gotta
really
pull you down
seems
into their
like
depths.
Yeah.
Yeah. So see, now that we've really talked this through, I'm honestly torn at this point, even apart from the LDS aspect of it too. I don't know that I see a Sagittarius man with a Pisces woman. It's kind of succeeding long term in general.
Yeah.
But Latia may prove me wrong if Grant may surprise us all and just say he doesn't actually care about the LDS thing. But I agree with you. I feel like that's super unlikely, though. I hate to put that out there, but I feel like that's so unlikely. I mean, if you watch Secret Lives of Mormon Wives or any of the Mormon stuff, come on, you know it's not nothing.
Yeah,
it's not like no big deal.
But it's like I know it's a big deal, and it's not even like the religion 100% that's working against them, but it's the place. I mean, she lives in Utah.
Right? You said she wouldn't move. She wouldn't move.
She hasn't talked about moving.
They haven't mentioned that
but it seems
on there. But I don't know because she said so much. She's so close to her family. Her family is huge.
So close.
And she's lived in Utah most of her life, and they have like a vacation home in Wyoming. So she's living in a very
sounds like it's time to grow up.
Different type of vibe, though. Like he is so steady.
Seems like he's like ready to go, and
and he's just and she's in a very different environment, and like like in those places too. They're just a very different vibe. It's a very different vibe.
Yeah, and you know what? They're very removed from that right now, right? They're in the show. Like they're away filming. They're not in all of that. So they're not only wearing the rose-colored glasses, but they're actually in the rose-colored bubble as well. Then they're going to leave that, and I think I don't even know. That might be a matter of weeks before that would potentially fizzle out. That might be a harsh reality check. You know, that might be a harsh culture shock compared to like with him and Juliana. That might not be nearly as harsh of a culture shock to try to shift into, you know, whatever that relationship might look like. It seems like even though no matter what it is, it's going to be non-traditional because he's in the entertainment industry, you know, whatever he's doing. But I don't know, someone
Juliana,
who's
Sorry, I was just gonna say kind of what you're saying, but it's like she just is becoming more clearly like the easier choice for him. I think not like that she's easy, but just like as far as lifestyle compatibility, it's like that makes a lot of sense to go with her. But his heart maybe might be going towards Latia. So
it seems like there's really definitely more heart involved in definitely both of the Pisces women. There's less, I think, logic in terms of like what maybe makes the most sense. You know, obviously there's some feeling there that is holding. There's some feeling there that's holding out, that he's just holding out for, like, you know, the final shoe to drop or whatever. I don't know that it will, but she's just going to say, I'm not a Mormon anymore. But
which, I mean, it happens.
That would be crazy.
She probably won't.
I know.
Yeah, that would be
I will say this, though. I found out that she has like a presence on TikTok, and her videos are very like energized and punchy, Latia. So it's kind of interesting that's kind of like her little thing. Outside of like, you know, like
chicks and TikTok, they love it,
They
right?
do.
So maybe
I didn't even know that was the whole thing. Now I know,
like her Taurus side, you know, that's kind of like the, like you were talking about, she's kind of like the
sign.
dual a little bit. So like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was not the
side,
Pisces. Yeah,
and you can
definitely.
connect with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I'm really interested to see how that would play
I
out.
know.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll
shall we
keep you
pick some
posted.
tarot?
Yes, let's
Yes.
do
Yes.
it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to
Want
cleanse my
order?
deck to start.
Okay. Okay. We're good.
Okay, so we're pulling a card for Zoe. Pulling for Zoe first. Do we see Grant in her future? The card that I pulled for her is the Hanged Man. So let me
I just got
explain.
chills.
Let me
Yeah.
explain.
Must not be
Yeah,
What does that mean?
it definitely fits. It for sure fits, as you
Oh
can
my
imagine. Yeah.
God.
So one really interesting thing is this is a major arcana card. So that means that this is signifying a major life event, which this for sure is for her. So whatever the card or anything else about the card, it's a major event that may not happen for the other two. So that's always interesting anytime that happens. So that makes sense because you said she was already about to leave. Like this has clearly been super emotional for her. This is going to be really tough for her, like regard either way. So literally she is hanging in balance. So we're
Okay.
talking about him being in her future. This is kind of leaving it open-ended. This is kind of saying maybe,
okay.
maybe not. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's essentially saying that she's stuck in her spot, not necessarily in a bad way, but because it's still kind of evolving for her to see where she needs to be. So not necessarily saying she's going to be with him. He's not necessarily out of her life, but she may still encounter him in some way. But I don't think this is saying to me that they're going to be together in a romantic sense. Definitely not. But they may
Okay.
still have some sort of, I don't know, maybe they'll do some sort of business venture together. But it's not as negative as maybe I thought it would be, honestly.
Yeah, I
But
thought it was really, really bad at
no,
first.
it's not that negative. No, she's
Okay.
hanging on a thread. She's waiting, but she's
Hanging
more
on a
so waiting
thread.
for her own change to come. What's going to come for her when this is all over? They may still have some sort of
Honestly,
connection, but I don't think it's going to be romantic. They're not going to be together in any way.
I feel like she's probably just waiting for this all to be over.
That's what it's
Honestly.
giving. It's just very much
Like,
giving.
I need to
Yeah.
know. Like, oh my God.
She's like,
I
can
would
I
be
just go home
frustrated for
because I
her.
wanted to go
Yeah.
home?
I think I should just leave, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay,
Okay,
that's
so that kind of
interesting.
confirmed for us that that's not our girl.
Yeah.
But I think bigger and better things for her. This is definitely a major event for her. That's going to be a big life changer in a positive way. Like I said, it's not a negative card. It's kind
Yeah.
of it's really a hanging imbalance until you make a change that is a positive thing for you. So it's not bad.
Okay, cool.
All right, so I'm going to cleanse the deck again before we look at Latia's.
Ready now?
All right, pulling Latia's card and interesting. Okay. So Latia got the Knight of Swords. Let me explain. So this is actually not an overly positive card, but it's not necessarily negative either. It is significant, not a major arcana card, but being that it's a knight, so anything that's like a knight, a queen, or a king, or an ace is still a pretty significant event. So pretty significant to her. The suit of swords is our suit of air, which indicates like intellect. So this is like a mental battle essentially that is coming for her, and it's really to like uncover the truth. And it is going to be like a stressful situation for her most likely. But that is like the main point of it is like this knight is kind of basically slicing through all of the bullshit to like get through to the truth. So I think basically it seems like there's some uncertainty. She's feeling now probably there's some uncertainty, and maybe in the future there may still be a little bit more of uncertainty for her before like fully getting to the bottom of what his true feelings are.
Yes. Well, I think it is valid to say that she is probably the most like mentally overloaded right now.
Yeah.
Really?
Like trying to figure out, is he hooking up with the other girls? Should I hook up with him? What does this mean after? You know, like I think
This is like sudden truths might come to light. This is actually really interesting because this is like she might find out something about him. Maybe this hasn't happened yet, like you're saying this episode's to come or whatever. Maybe he does something that really upsets her, and that's what it is. Like that's what she uncovers, but then that could be the catalyst that they're not going to work out because she couldn't deal with it or, whatever. But yeah, it seems like there's potentially a negative situation coming that she's going to have to figure out how to work through and if they're going to be able to like make it through or not.
Wow. That's really good.
So.
Yeah. That's so good.
Okay.
All right. Let's pull for Juliana.
Good to hear what the last one is.
All right. Last one.
Hey,
all right. Pulling Juliana's card. Three of Pentacles, you guys. This is like the only positive card that we've gotten for anyone so far.
Wow.
It doesn't look positive, but you can act because it's dark, but you can
Yeah.
see that it's like two people almost in a matrimonial stance,
Yes.
kind of at like a pulpit.
Uh-huh.
They're actually in a church, and there's three. It's the sign of Pentacles. There's three at the top, and the Pentacles are the Earth sign suit. Taurus, Juliana is an Earth sign, so it actually perfectly fit her suit. And literally, this card is calling and like success. Basically, success is coming. A new enterprise is coming. Could be a business. Could be marriage. In this case, like a new contract, a new pact. So I'd say this is definitely a really positive card for Juliana.
Wow.
I'd say this is definitely our main predictor.
Yep.
So this will be this is officially my guess. So Juliana will be officially my guess. The tarot spoke.
It always turns out that way. Like once we kind of talk through it with you and then just like through our musings with all this stuff, like I feel like we all kind of agree at the end.
Yeah.
You know?
It's definitely her.
I feel like we could have been swayed a bit with Latia, you know, if you had pulled something different for her. But like what you
that really fit though. That was so interesting how that really fit with her anxieties she was feeling about him spending the night with the other women.
Yes. 100%.
So like, is it more of the success within like right now, within the few years, or is it possible to have an idea of will it last?
That's a really good question. Thank you for asking, because I probably should have said that. So that card is not a major arcana card. It's known as a minor arcana card, so it is temporary. So that's not to say that it will necessarily just go away, but it is something you would need to work on. You would need to keep working at it, absolutely. So whatever venture it is, whether it's a contract of marriage or a contract with a new business venture, anything like that, it will need to be tended to in order to continue, because yes, it could just be temporary.
Wow, great question. All right.
Yes, thank you for asking that question.
Yeah. So the other two cards were major arcana cards.
The one was a major arcana card, and then the one after that was still technically a minor arcana, but it was at a higher level. There's like two levels to the minor arcana cards. So think of like that's where we're at like a regular deck of cards level. You have like your 2 up through 10, and then like ace, king, queen are, you know, like your more special suits. And where you have like a jack in a regular deck, we have knights in the tarot deck. So it was a knight of swords. So it was closer to the major arcana being a really significant thing for her.
Very interesting.
That is interesting.
Wow. And again, like that would be a temporary dilemma for her to work through.
That's
hopefully, you know, because like in the end it's over.
Right.
Like it's gonna be over soon, whether he chooses her or not. And hopefully she'll have that clarity by then. But that's so interesting. And then the thing with Juliana, like, you know, maybe he chooses her, but if she's not like his one forever, like, wow, my soulmate, then no, it probably won't last. You know, if Latia is the one that got away in the back of his mind, then no, it won't last with Juliana. He needs to keep searching for love. So
what also is interesting, I just will add, is that because business, like success in business and finance, is also a big aspect of that card, like the way you can look at it. If they don't work out romantically, maybe they do some collab together or something.
True.
You know, maybe they don't totally. Maybe she's in a music video. I don't know. You know,
but like either way, they're both going to become huge influencers.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems like they're going to do something together that gives them both success in the near future. Is what it seems like, whether they're in a relationship as part of it or not.
I think they'll use their relationship, not intentionally, like they're doing it on purpose, but I feel like they could use their relationship in terms of boosting, you know, their influencer status for sure.
100%.
And that they could definitely work off of that and just be really popular. And then, you know, maybe it doesn't work out, but they gain a lot financially and notoriety. I don't know. So that is so interesting, though.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. We're always so on it, Julia.
I know.
I just say you guys are always on it, because I say you're always like, oh, we knew.
But it's like, it's just so cool hearing your perspective, Natalie. And then honestly, like, thank you so much for coming on here. Like, you know so much about this. It's just like, it's just so interesting to see a different perspective that's still in a crazy way, like aligns with everything we've been talking about this whole season, you know?
Yeah.
Like it truly is just like written in the stars. Like
I'm really excited to find out.
I know. Yeah, we'll keep you
Can't wait to see
posted.
what happens.
Yeah.
Listen up and on our podcast next week. We drop our episodes Tuesday nights by like
unless there's a
midnight,
technical issue, then it's Wednesday morning.
We try.
But I try.
But yeah, you can find it on Wednesdays. And then the week after that is the finale.
Yeah,
so
that's right. So the 24th,
exciting.
right? March 24th, Monday, the 24th. So that's exciting.
It really is.
Oh my goodness. Another season in the books.
This is our 4th season of Bachelor Buzz podcast.
That's crazy.
I know.
Wow.
5th season
Time flies.
Bachelor in Paradise.
So like what will be our next season that Natalie will help us with? Probably the Bachelor. Are they doing the Golden Bachelor?
I think they're going to try to do the Golden Bachelor this year. I have a feeling they might alternate each year, like with the Goldens. So it'll be like.
But we didn't have you come on to that one.
No,
we didn't have.
We were because that one is
probably
just didn't.
Bachelor. Yeah, their fates
didn't
are
put much talk in that one. You're just
there's just not as like. I mean, also it's like I think it's cool because these people are like kind of close to our age. Close.
Well, yeah.
Ish.
Doing younger now, but still
younger. But it's just cool to like think about like. It could be our friend, it could be our, family member. But yeah, and then they're doing the Bachelor.
Yeah.
The Golden, I think they're a little more predictable. I feel like because they choose
not gonna
very
move to Thailand or anything.
Yeah. It's very
they've been there, done that.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's what makes it different.
They're practical. Like they're gonna be practical at the end of the day.
Yes.
That's a really good point. There's probably not as much like people aren't taking chances.
Yes.
There.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. They're like,
I'm not taking a chance. But, no.
Yeah, they're not moving to Utah.
No, not.
It's like I live in Maryland.
Joining religions.
Yeah. I live in Maryland. Yeah. Not leaving.
Not going anywhere. I've been here for 50 years. No,
none of those relationships are going to work out.
It's really like kind of sad. Like that's a realization.
It's kind of fun though for them to do though. It's still like a fun thing.
Oh yeah. It's so fun. But it's like if you don't live in the same town, like
it's kind of unrealistic.
Very hard for older people to actually like up and move.
Definitely.
They should do it like in a city with only
like Love is Blind. Do it in the city so that the people.
Oh, is that what they do? So it's like okay.
It is. Yeah. So that's actually like a smart idea. They should consider that. ABC for
they should
Bachelorette.
Well, they need to do some market research honestly with people of that age group specifically and ask them if I feel like those kind of details
it's like something they don't really talk about until again fantasy suites, things like that. It's like why am
and then it's all coming out and it's like
exactly. But I mean thankfully I feel like people, our generation, it is more open-ended, but with Latia's case, it really just seems a little bit more solidified, like her life's journey as someone in LDS and living in Utah. So
I mean, she could move. There's lots of LDS people that leave and move for their husband's work, if it's like the woman moving for the husband, or even maybe on the other side, like the man moving for the woman. But she just seems so deeply rooted in Utah and Wyoming that she doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for her. Who knows, Latia? But it seems like it.
We'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna say another take on that card too could be her trying to fight through her own inner demons to figure out what the truth is for herself of like what's actually most important to her. Like, is it more important to stay in Utah and like live out this life with her family, or does she need to, like you said, Irina, like move with a husband? Like if he has a job, like take a risk, take a chance, and leave that place. Like maybe that is part of the truth she needs to uncover. It's about herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was so good.
Thank you guys so much.
Always.
So fun.
So much.
You're welcome, as always. Great time.
Well, this was so great. Amazing episode. I mean, what do we call it? like
I
astrology,
think Star Sign
horoscope, star
episodes,
signs,
we
like
were calling it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a little
And
poll after, a
tarot
little quick poll
card.
after. Yeah, we
yeah.
had a
That
tarot
was a really
poll.
cool element. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that
A new
too.
feature to bring in, so that was really
Yeah,
cool
that was
too.
fun.
For sure. And the minor and the major, that the learn about that was also very interesting too. So thank you so much for joining us as always. And this is
Yeah.
definitely one of our feature episodes in the
I know,
season.
we love doing
So
this.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun. As always, the pressure, I always feel a little nervous when I come on being like, I don't know, because
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
watch it, but it
Right.
really is so uncanny how it shakes out. It always
It
is.
really
Tarot is
is.
the
I
same way.
know.
Every tarot reading I do, like for other people or for myself, I'm nervous every time that especially if
Yeah.
it's for someone else, that it's not going to let go right. That
Right.
never happens. Literally,
It always turns
it's
out
uncanny.
better.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
uncanny.
Yeah. It honestly, it like
Trust the
unearthed
process.
more than what I would have said just on my own. If I were to describe these people, I feel like you brought out a lot of things that I maybe overlooked originally, but it's like, no, that is kind of how she conducts herself, or like personality traits. And also for Grant, like I just feel like it brings clarity to the situation. So now, people can agree with us, they can disagree, but at least we all kind of learned more about, these people's individual traits and like maybe their life's journey
yeah,
going forward.
we'll
So
see.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Natalie.
guys. All right.
Okay. See you guys next week for
See
Fantasy
you.
Feast.
Bye.